Guess who's coming to sauna? Hekilunta. Guess who's coming to sauna? Hekilunta.
Hello all, my name is Eero Kilpi, and we are with the upper bench here as always, and I'm so happy to say, I guess I start the same way every time I start, but we are over 2,000 listeners and less slash viewers at this point, and we are growing fairly fast, which is awesome. So there's a lot of people out there like you who are interested in the true authentic sauna. And I have today with me, as always, my dear buddies here, and let's start with Risto or Christopher. How are you, Christopher, today?
I'm doing okay today. It's sunny out. Enjoying the warm weather. I stepped outside for 10 seconds, and as a fair complected person, I think I have sunburn. So, but I'm still enjoying it. And I'm going to pass it off to Sam, who's going to introduce our topic of sauna in the summer.
Yeah. As many of you may know, I live in the Southeast now, and it's warm pretty much across the country. And, like Risto said, it's the sun's out. So a lot of people might ask, well, why are you going into a hot room? Why are you taking a sauna when it's 80 degrees outside? I always joke down here, it's very humid. Some people think that they live in a sauna. So, we're going to talk a little bit today about even some of the benefits of sauna, when it is maybe a little bit warmer outside, and, why we still do it. I think other than a lot of the things that we've talked about over the last, dozen episodes or so, why we enjoy sauna, but even in the summer months, I'm a big fan of stepping out, into the nice outside air and actually having it feel cool. That's always my favorite, in the summer. But all the same positive effects that I've, spoken about, I still get, and I want to continue to get those year round, whether it's hot outside, cold outside, rainy. I'm like the post office. I sauna all the time.
It's so funny you would say that, because it's not the part that you would say that you would like to sauna all the time, because I'm like you here, but it's like, how often have I heard as a Finnish person, it's like, when it's hot, it's like a sauna here, and then when you get that like that wooden smell, this smells like a sauna. It's like the hotness and the smell are very much related with sauna bathing, also during the summer months.
Risto, how about you? Any experience, on a nice hot day, jumping in the lake or anything like that?
Yeah, we haven't been around lakes as much. I think maybe just one time, and it was wonderful because it was Lake Superior. It was fairly cold, but usually we're traveling up there in the fall, which is my favorite sauna season. But summer is also an amazing sauna season. Like you said, every season is great. People will say, oh, it's 90 degrees out, it's super warm, it's already like a sauna. And I'd say, like, yeah, but you need to add 100 degrees. It's we're still not very close. Yeah. You have a long ways to go. And like you said, once you heat up inside the sauna and then you step out, you've just gone to 100 degrees cooler outside, and then hopefully a cold plunge, which is a bit of a trick during the summer, but it still can be done.
Oh, absolutely. And I love the idea of, obviously adding any sort of cold element. You got to be able to cool off, but I think it's always nice too, when it is a little bit nicer out, you can take maybe a longer break in between sessions. Maybe you do have a few people over, and something like that. But at the end of the day, you can stand outside, for as long as you want. And if you don't have much of clothing on, it's really not going to matter either. So, that's why another good reason, fire up that grill, get a cooler and invite some friends over. Just because you're, hot outside doesn't mean it, you can't feel good if you're even hotter inside.
It's an interesting thing. For me, it's like, Finnish people, obviously, they sauna bathe obviously all through the year, and particularly, with the second homes, with the summer, cabins, summer is the peak season of sauna bathing. Before the global warming, obviously Finland did not get that hot. It did that there's been a change as of late, so even that part of the world is getting hotter. But for me, one thing which is kind of interesting is that I like, when I sauna on a hot day, I barely use even a towel because you don't need one. Like you just said, Sam, it's just like, you just let that hot breeze, dry you off. So it's works marvelous that way. The cold element obviously is important. So you don't want to go from hot to hot and back and forth. You need something cold there in between. So that's essential.
Oh, absolutely. And like right now, I don't have a cold plunge yet in my, in the house that I'm at right now. And I've been looking at some DIY plans and looking at some other options, but something I do want to get into here, especially now that the summer months are right around the corner, and it's plenty warm down here in South Carolina. So definitely something I'm looking into. But right now, my big yellow lab, he likes to lay around in my shop. So I've got a big industrial fan in there, one of those big 42-inch fans that you get at, the hardware store. And I tell you what, standing in front of that thing, when you're wet with sweat, or you maybe, you have, poured a little water over your head or something like that. But when you got that really fast air coming across you, I can get the shivers just standing there, and letting that blow on me. So it's a nice way to cool off a little bit too.
Yeah, we use in the summertime, like we don't have a permanent solution for cooling the water. That would be nice, some sort of thing that keeps it cool, or that you could flip a switch and get it cool. We go with the low tech solution, which is Costco. Cheap. I'm trying to remember how many pounds it is. 20 pounds, 24-pound bags of ice. So we have 2 cold plunges. So if we're having a sauna party,
Sure.
we'll fill up the water, and then we'll get whatever we need at Costco and grab like 7 or 8 bags of ice. So it's like $15, $20, and then just, put tons of ice in those cold plunges, and it works for the, the 3-4 hours that we're sauning.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I was just going to ask, how long are you getting? Can you maybe, if you were to put a cover over it, do you think you could get a weekend out of it?
No. I mean, depending on what the weather is, probably not. It pretty much just works like for that time. So it's kind of a sunk $15. But if you're having a party with a bunch of friends, we consider that part of our cost of sauning.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This is actually quite fundamental because a big part of, say, the country of the United States, it's warm, and some people have a very strong feeling that you don't sauna bathe when it's hot outside. So it is like, and obviously we don't come from that camp, so we sauna bathe year round. But so yeah, how could we approach this thing to teach people, or not teach, but to give advice to people how to keep going all through the year?
Yeah, I think there are some benefits, at least ones that I've personally observed, on days where I will sauna in the afternoon and it is hot outside, let's say. That evening, I'm a lot less likely to overheat at night when I'm sleeping. Because my body's been acclimated maybe a little bit to a warmer temp that day. I've sufficiently cooled off, showered, and maybe went to bed a few hours later. But I've noticed there's a significant reduction in like overheating at night, where you gotta stick your leg outside the cover, or whatever it is, kick the sheets off or whatever. On days that I sauna, usually I'm sleeping deeper, and I'm not overheating at night. So that's a benefit regardless, of time of year. Let's say, you've got a heavy comforter or something like that, and you tend to overheat at night. maybe it'll help you.
That's a great point. That is a very valid point. Yes, yes, yes.
But
And
yeah, again, that's my personal, experience with it. So I call that a win in the high heat months. So
yeah. And I've also heard that in Finland, a lot of families are going to their summer cottage, spending quite a bit of time up there. And you're sauning what, every day at the summer
Yeah,
cottage? So
yeah,
it
yeah.
seems like in Finland, the home of sauna, it seems like that's the prime season for getting the most sauna in.
Definitely. It's part of the daily regime. It's like somewhere there is always a sauna, and it's like, and again, it doesn't. Sauna is kind of a funny thing, because if it's like, you said that it's beautiful where you are. I'm in New York, and it's very rainy and very dark. You can probably even tell. And so this would be a perfect day for sauna. It does, like, this would be the best ever. Having said that, though, the sunny, the beautiful is always a good day for sauna. So in back home where I'm from, i.e. Finland, it doesn't make a difference. So you would still sauna bathe, and obviously you do that like before you eat dinner. You get like ready to the whatever. If you're having a party in the evening, you sauna first, and depending who you are or what you like, you maybe have a couple of adult beverages, i.e. beers in sauna, and then you'll feel like a reborn, and then you go on doing whatever you were supposed to do in the evening. But yeah, it does not. But yeah, I guess that the difference that we sort of like should be talking about is that at least before the global warming started kicking in, there was not that much humidity where I'm from originally. So that, like, that 100% humidity, which is typical here in New York area at least, that did not happen back home. So that's a little difference. But yeah, so it's just like summer season, outdoor. I mean, the cottages, the second homes, sauna bathing, like weekends, and that's what it's all about.
yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. My home sauna, out in my shop, is kind of built into a lot of concrete, so it's very well insulated, walls, and then concrete walls on the other side of it. And it's very frequent now in the summer months that the inside of my sauna is at about 60-65 degrees when it's not in use. I mean, but my shop, the temperature could be well in the 80s. But because it's insulated, and the concrete there is, on the floor is kind of just giving off that cool, more central earth temperature. It's nice. It's kind of a change of pace, because sometimes I'll just go and sit in there if it's a really hot day, just to kind of cool off, because it is so well insulated. So it's funny. I can use my sauna to cool off too.
Yeah, and I think with all things sauna, experience is really the key. It's hard to like theorize about it. You need to go and do it. So we've introduced a lot of people to sauna, and depending on which season we introduce them to it, winter or summer, if it was winter time, they love it. And they say like, I love it, but I don't think I would really care to do it in the summer, because that's
Yeah.
when they had the
That is true.
experience. But we've had the opposite. We've introduced people in the summer, and they're like, this is fantastic, just sitting out in the sun and just relaxing, going at us, enjoying the process. And they're like, but I don't know if I would love it in the winter. The contrast, it might be too much, So
yeah, almost, one extreme over the other. So yeah, you got to get them early October.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Eero, you had mentioned about the humidity. It is so humid down here as well. And I've got that wood burner, and it's so nice to be able to get a drier heat when I want to. You know, maybe I'm not splashing around as much water, because the ambient air temperature around, you know, might be sitting at 90% humidity on any given point. But that wood stove, you know, I can sit in that high, you know, air temp environment. You know, I'm getting my sauna up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. But what you know, a lot of people don't understand is, yeah, that humidity level is actually way down. You know, you're probably sitting at about 20% humidity, maybe even less, probably less at that high temp, and, you know, kind of that golden rule of 200. But, you know, sometimes it's kind of nice to dry out a little bit too, and use maybe a drier session in those summer months. Because yeah, splashing a lot of water and getting that humidity up and then stepping out into a humid environment, that can be, yeah, a little bit much, you know, in the long run. But to each their own. If it feels good, keep doing it, people. Especially don't matter if what the temperature is. If it feels good, just keep doing it.
That's definitely so. That's definitely so. It's just like, you know, it almost feels like, you know, whatever the outside temperature is like a secondary thing. You know, it's, you know, you have the contrast heat therapy, so you're going to go with that thing, and it's kind of a question, you know, if you, when you relax between the session, you know, if you want to be in the sun or not. So you know, that is exactly what it is.
I was going to ask you guys, have you ever gotten, I mean, one of my favorite experiences, you know, if the weather's cooperating, or some people might think the weather's not cooperating, but, you know, saunaing when it's raining. One of my favorite, you know, kind of cool offs is if it's raining outside. I always love to fire up my sauna when it's raining, because stepping out into, you know, just that nice cool rain, nice and gentle, that to me is my perfect session. You know, once I get a cold plunge, you know, proper and can do that kind of thing. But nothing beats a nice fresh summer rain.
You are really getting here. This is important. This is important because it's like we have a lot of, you know, I think we all three are contacted by people who are thinking about, maybe they've heard somewhere that they want to build themselves a sauna, and you like the two most like places to put the sauna is first in your basement, second in your master bathroom, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that per se, but you need that in a perfect sauna session. So you need that outdoor element, and kind of what we try to convey here, what we try to talk about. And Sam, I totally agree with you. When it's raining out, well, you know, okay, there's a problem for me personally, because I'm a bad person. I much want to smoke a cigar. When it's raining outside, the cigar is not going to take place. But you know, compromises have to be made sometimes. But
Yeah,
but
one of those umbrella hats.
Yeah. But anyway, so whether it's steaming hot outside, it's raining, if it's freezing outside, you want to have that nature element to your sauna bathing experience. That's and obviously, if you want to compromise, you compromise. And there's nothing wrong with that, but part of the enjoyment is to having that nature's given element to that process.
Yeah.
Oh,
plus we
100%.
spend too much time inside.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, that's also true.
You know, and I wonder if there's, and maybe it's given some, you know, I've seen a lot of different videos lately, you know, on different social media feeds about this idea of, you know, getting outside and walking on the ground in your bare feet, you know, and kind of creating that connection with the earth. You know, if it's positively charged, negatively charged ions, you know, I don't know, I'm not a physics major, right? You know, but I can definitely understand, you know, if you're running around in tennis shoes, a piece of rubber is going to, you know, insulate you from anything like that. I'm wondering if, you know, maybe, you know, after a good sauna session, you're stepping outside, you're enjoying nature, you know, go step on your lawn with your bare feet. and allow yourself to just kind of get connected with nature. I love that. I've done it a few times recently and just tried to kind of focus on, is this doing anything? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it did just make me stop for a second and think about it. So just in that sense, it was a positive, because I did kind of feel, okay, I am kind of connected. Anybody who's walking on the planet right now, is connected. So that was kind of a nice feeling. So it really just kind of grounded me, not in an electrical sense, but just in a psychological sense, and taking a break. So I love the addition of any sort of nature, getting outside, and like Risto said, we all spend way too much time indoors. It's not a bad thing to get out there.
That's also a kind of an interesting thing that you just said, because I'm thinking about, obviously I'm looking at my childhood in Finland, and we spent all our summers in our summer place and our summer cottage, and so when the school ended in the spring, what we did, we traveled to the summer house, and spent like a good 2.5, almost 3 months there. And there was basically one rule, but if the weather was super bad, then that was an exception. But we basically did not wear shoes the whole summer. So that was kind of a thing. So it's just like, no shoes, and a lot of sauna bathing.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Getting back to basics. I mean, I think that's what traditional sauna is really all about. Getting back to a center point, getting back to paying homage to the saunas before and the people. Nothing really changed, in the last 100,000 years. I mean, you're sitting in a nice, warm, insulated room, just like everybody else did. So you might have a fancy electric stove on the wall, but you're just heating it a little bit differently than they did back then. But other than that, you're sitting there and enjoying a good sauna session just like anybody else. So I love the fact that you can kind of get back to basics, get back to your roots, and reset.
So what can we give any advice? We've sort of like covered a lot about the summer sauna, but is there, like, is there a difference now? Is there a clear difference between the winter sauna bathing and the summer sauna bathing, or is it the same thing?
Risto, how about you? What would be your kind of your take on that?
I would say they're definitely different. There's some core commonalities of the heat and the sweat and the community part, but especially outside of the hot room, it looks quite a bit different between the two. In the middle of winter, we usually don't have a cold plunge. So ironically, we have more cold plunges in the summer. And like Sam had talked about, kind of more hanging out, leisurely time, out in the sun, having some food, drinking something. Whereas like in the middle of winter, it's more like get out there, do your business, enjoy some of the cold air, but it's a lot shorter.
Yeah. I guess that's exactly what it is, though. Is you spend more time outside during the summer months, but again, you need that cold element there somewhere, because you don't want to go from hot to hot and stay that way, because then it's going to be a very short session. But when you have the cold element, you can sort of like almost like forget that it can, the sauna session can take actually quite a long time, because you're going to be enjoying the weather a little more than you would if it's freezing outside. For obvious reasons, you're not going to stay there a very long time.
Yeah, it's kind of that, like Risk said, it's kind of that flip side. In the winter, I'm looking at my watch going, okay, I've been outside now for 4 minutes. That's long enough, right? I can go back in the sauna now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's also kind of that touches also one thing is that quite many people, for understandable reasons, they time their stays inside the hot room. And it's kind of, when you've been doing the sauna long enough, you don't really want to do that, because your body's going to tell you how long you want to be in the hot room. but you can sort of basically clock yourself outside the hot room and then go back inside.
Yeah, and I would spend, on average in the summer, I will spend a lot more time outside the sauna in between sessions, because it does take that much longer to kind of cool your body down, thoroughly. Where, yeah, when it's winter in Minnesota and it's 20 below wind chill, you're standing outside, you got to decide whether you want to get frostbite or not.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it does. I find myself, I mean, if I had to put a stopwatch on it, which I would never recommend, but on average, I'm probably spending twice the amount of time outside of the hot room as I am in the winter, in the summer here, than I would have in the winter. But I'm sure there's definitely a lot of core temp, just the amount of time it takes to cool down, your body from, ambient air temperature of 80 degrees compared to 0. That sounds like a pretty good multiplier 2 times, at 80 degrees.
Yeah, I think summer's my second favorite season. I already mentioned fall, like the fall where the cold plunge it cools itself off overnight. That's ideal for me. And, but summer's number 2, even above winter and spring. It's really nice.
Yeah. This is the time of year where, it's so much easier to be social with sauna. People can come over, they can, if they only go in the hot room for 2 or 3 minutes and they're like, ooh, that I can only take a little bit, I'm going to stand outside. You know what? People are standing outside around the grill, around the bonfire, whatever it is. They're smoking and they're joking. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be so sauna centric that, in the winter, if you try to have a sauna party, everyone's like, hey, scoot over. I'm getting back in.
Yeah.
So, maybe this is the time to invite some people that you haven't met, or haven't introduced to sauna yet. Have them come over and it doesn't take much. Like Risto said, Costco's got that ice. So get yourself a tub and a cold plunge along with it.
Yeah, and it's probably, that was a good layman's rule of thumb that it probably takes twice as much time to cool off when it's hot outside, but you still cool off because like Risto said that 90 degrees Fahrenheit is different than 190 degrees Fahrenheit. So there's this 100 degrees Fahrenheit difference. Awesome. Any final words, gentlemen?
Oh, this is great, guys. I hope everybody, can get out there and enjoy it. It doesn't matter if it's cold, hot, whatever it is, as long as inside your sauna is hot.
Yeah.
Agreed.
True. Thank you, gentlemen.
Enjoy us. We'll catch you on the next episode, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.